Alright, Yellowjackets fans, episode 7 is a wonderful reunion of the Yellowjackets, but that doesn't mean the claws ain't coming out, because right now, Shauna is Yellowjackets Mike Tyson, throwing some haymakers and eating ears. Okay, anyway, welcome back to Heavy Spoilers, your home for spoilers that are heavy, and in this video, we're going to be discussing everything in Yellowjackets episode 7, full-on story breakdown, callbacks, strange references and parallels, and some theories that I'm betting are actually correct. So if you enjoy this video, hitting that like button is much appreciated and helps the channel, and subscribe to Heavy Spoilers to stay up to date on all of our Yellowjackets coverage. With all of that out of the way, thank you so much for clicking this. I'm your host, Jared. Now let's get into Yellowjackets episode 7. Alright, so this episode is predominantly based at Lottie's compound as a sort of reunion, and I think the most shocking part of this whole season is that it's only been a week. Yeah, like 7 days, that's it. But everyone, here has their own kind of quirks. Natalie has fully been draped in purple, succumbing to Lottie's wellness. Misty has only been there for 24 hours and has also succumbed, taking on the role of gathering the newcomer's possessions. There's some weird looks amongst Ty when Natalie mentions walls being up while also looking at Van. So that's kind of our first hint that there's still feelings for her. While Lottie seems to give a skittish look when Natalie brings up dark.
We brought some really dark shit back with us from that place, so...
Again, hinting that she may know more than she's letting on. Another thing about Lottie is that the others have brought up multiple times that they thought she was in Switzerland, which, Lottie does confirm, but that was decades ago. Now, apparently going to Switzerland can be a euphemism for ending your own life, so I'm wondering if the writers here are cleverly adding some more subtext to Lottie's character, which explains further why she wanted to stop Natalie from putting a rifle in her mouth. Anyway, most of this episode is the core Yellowjackets, each participating in a different therapy to kind of help with past trauma, things that they've kind of buried down, and so forth. I'm curious if Lottie purposely kind of rigged this, though, because each picks something that's oddly catered to their specific character, with Shauna's therapy being self-care, Misty's guidance, Thais's renewal, and Van's is forage. Of course, each is, like I said, personally crafted for each of them. So Shauna's therapy is self-care, and yeah, this ain't no spa day massage treatment, I'm loving this. Instead, Shauna is tasked with taking care of a baby goat named Bruce. Now, this is a clever way of her to deal with the trauma of losing her baby boy back in the wilderness, because not only is this a baby goat, but baby goats are typically called a kid, and it's male, which was like her lost baby. So her and watching this little guy symbolizes the opportunity she was robbed of all of those years ago and caused her to kind of keep Callie way closer, hover more than allowing Callie to experience her life without this constant oversight of you can't do this, you can't do that. The interesting thing is how quickly Shauna jumps to the conclusion of thinking that they want her to slit the goat's throat. Again, this is supposed to be self-care, so why the heck does she think this? Well, it's because that wilderness DNA is baked into her. She did something similar to the rabbit from season 1, and not to mention the deer and pit girl from season 1. So I think subtly self-care for Shauna has been a kind of form of killing because of the anger and rage she had built up in the wilderness and then stuffed all the way down. But it's always been there. Like, it's always there. Metaphorically, finally dealing with her baby's death is the real self-care here.
I find it gives a person clarity to have to care for something so innocent.
I'm not crying about the goat.
There's a couple of interesting things that pop up when Misty and Shauna are looking for the baby goat, all of which mirrors Misty and the others looking for Crystal back in the wilderness. But Misty bringing up low calorie counts and hallucinations, this can't be coincidence.
Oh, look, I have some bait.
Oh.
I've been kind of hoarding food in case they decide to enforce calorie restriction to induce out-of-body experiences. My blood sugar can't handle that.
Okay.
This could be an in-your-face line explaining some of the weird stuff that has been happening back in the wilderness, again giving a scientific explanation to this otherwise supernatural elements that we've seen. Shauna and Lottie seem to be sharing the same kind of sentiments about present day and whether or not things are real. Shauna questioning Callie, while Lottie has been seen to question the reality of the wilderness and what has happened. So we should kind of maybe keep a pin in this and see where this whole idea of what's real and what's not comes up again or not. Misty's therapy was guidance and leading to her confronting her problems with the sensory deprivation chamber. Basically, Misty takes on the role of Eleven from Stranger Things and is treated to a delicious nod from Twin Peaks with the black outfit against the red curtain, similar to that of the Black Lodge. This could have been something Misty watched as a child as well. But yeah, her gets bananas. Like, you need some sports enhancers for this whole section, as it's a musical number from Walter and her bird Caligula. Honestly, did this show jump the shark at this point? Absolutely not. Do I need more of this fever dream insanity? Absolutely 100%. The whole point of this is Misty finding a bit more of that self-confidence that she is severely lacking. Learning that Caligula was named after the Roman emperor is something that we mentioned back in episode 1. If you didn't know, this dude was completely unhinged, and some historians even say that he was actually insane. Caligula is played by John Cameron Mitchell, which is a great nod to Misty's obsession with musicals because he wrote and directed Hedwig and the Angry Itch, which was based on a 1998 stage musical by the same name. Anyway, through this, Misty questions whether or not she's desperate for love and in fact is a murderer. But yeah, at the end of this, she is not rehabilitated at all because Caligula twists things a bit, basically persuading Misty that she's actually a closer, and that's a good thing. And she's not desperate for love, even though the first thing she does after getting out of the chamber is run to the phone and call Walter, hence being desperate for love.
I'm gonna hang up. Oh, no, you hang up first. No, you hang up first. No, you hang up.
I swear I can change her. Just give me some time. In the voicemail message, she admits Walter was right about the thing. I'm guessing the whole Adam Martin situation. So I wonder if Walter is the one who finds the remains at the end of this episode. It would then connect him back into the fold, to be honest. A couple other things of note is the Garfield phone. I love it. I mean, it doesn't have any significance. I just wanted to talk about it. But the newspaper on Caligula's vanity shows what looks like a picture of the Yellowjackets team, along with an article mentioning the blizzard of 1996, the same year that they were stuck in the wilderness. So just some kind of neat notes here or there, but the biggest thing is the musical phone conversation between Walter and Misty. Yeah, this is Morse code. I didn't pick it up on the first time, but when you break down the code, it states, "I love you," which isn't a big surprise because of the heart graphic and the way that Misty reacts, but a fun little thing if, not everyone probably picked up. Thaisa and Van's therapy sessions pale in comparison to the wacky musical number of Misty's, but Ty's does have a bit of a thing that may play into, honestly, it might play into a bigger thing down the road in future seasons or the next couple episodes, with hers being renewal. Now, painting the cabin doesn't mean Even Ty knows this by brushing swears and drawing a happy face, so we can ignore that. But the renewal idea is supposed to be her repairing the sleepwalking persona. She doesn't know why, but Lottie reassures her it's because that side of her has wisdom. Wisdom of the wilderness, or potentially something else. But she needs to essentially allow for a symbiotic relationship with it once again, rather than suppressing it. Does Lottie have nefarious purposes and maybe tricking her into allowing it to come back? Maybe. Honestly, I could see it happening. So I think we'll have to, again, keep a note on this and see how this plays out in the future few episodes. Van's therapy session was forage, which basically turns into her drinking her pain away when Thaisa finds her. Now, we know that the two have had a past. There's even been a kind of what if, shoulda, coulda, woulda vibe between the two ever since they met in this season. But with Ty taking off her wedding ring and saying, "I can't believe I'm here again," this is her referring to being back with Van once again. And smooching with her looks to bring out the other persona of Ty's as she becomes more aggressive with the kissing. The big reveal is Van having cancer, only having a few months to live, We had theorized that the medicine back a handful of episodes may be hers, and that's the case. Now, I don't know how we missed this, but some of the bills in the wastebasket in that previous episode seem to be from a medical facility. So yeah, she's only got a few months to live. Now, this cancer reveal may tie into the conversation she and Ty had back in the wilderness at the start of this episode, with Van questioning why she is still alive. Like what was her purpose here? So it seems far too coincidental for her to question this all the way back then, only to be diagnosed with cancer later on. I think this further explains why she's been living in the past with the video store and nostalgia. She doesn't have a future, so the past is pretty much all that she has left. As Lottie's therapy, she is talking to her fill-in therapist once again, and we gotta chalk this one up as a win. 3-pointer, nothing but net, because last week we theorized that the therapist was all in Lottie's mind, and is finally revealed at the end of this session. The same color of clothing gave this one away, and the reason Lottie is spiraling a bit is because of her. She probably isn't taking her medicine again, therefore seeing this other therapist. If I remember correctly, her followers aren't permitted to do so, so maybe she actually is following that and has stopped herself. The therapist urging her to reach back into that primal freedom that she had in the wilderness, the time she was essentially at her most free. Meaning Lottie is going to be seeing a whole lot of more weird in these coming episodes, but two things about this really jump out. One is Lottie seeing the Antler Queen once again, making us think that she is in fact what carries this title, or she carried this in the wilderness. But with her seeing it from a third-person view and being scared of this sight, I'm not fully convinced that Lottie was the one to hold this title. We have a theory a little bit later on, but yeah, just wait. But another thing, I'm convinced that this other therapist has been with Lottie, or in her mind, all the way back at the start of this season, when we first see her in the mental facility. The roommate of hers looks similar to this grown-up therapist. Again, it's played by a different actress, but they look similar, and there's just, to me, it connects and it makes sense that this other voice had been present with her for years, and it's only now coming back with her stopping her meds. Now, let me know in the comments if I'm off my rocker and I'm digging way too deep into this one. Anyway, when they all come together for their reunion at the end of this episode, it's like one big happy team again. And again, with any kind of reunion, we're mostly focused on the good rather than the bad, with Lottie suggesting that many of them probably don't remember everything clearly because of the brain going into panic mode in the wilderness, and certain memories are hiding. For example, the rage of Shauna, we can see at the very end of this episode, was brought forth when adult Shauna went to get her van back from the chop shop owner. The rage-filled memories were there, and this is why she didn't know why it felt so good. Anyway, Free by Florence and the Machine plays, which is a song about anxiety and how to process it, much like the women have in this episode, let alone sense the wilderness. So this sharing circle is them dealing with their current things until more of the booze flows, snow begins to fall, and they celebrate by running outside. This ending bit in present day mirrors that of the wilderness as lightning crashes by live or live plays. The music video of this is about life, rebirth, grief, but celebration. As in present day, all of the Yellowjackets are almost rebirthed. There's a renewal to them, yipping like wild dogs, dancing, drinking around the fire pit, seeing that snow is something happy and joyous rather than that of a nightmare and bad omen back in the past. Back in the wilderness, Shauna is dealing with the grief and now rage of the loss of her baby. I guess if you didn't notice, but Shauna is currently going through the 5 stages of grief. Last week ended with her in denial that the baby was stillborn and that it was actually still alive. But now this episode is clearly rage as she beats the piss out of Lottie, allowing that rage to manifest into potentially something greater. I don't think we can show any of this, but yeah, Lottie by the end of this episode is basically Balboa at the end of any Rocky movie and believes that this is not only good for Shauna, but also good for the wilderness. So with this following the 5 stages of grief for Shauna, next week is no doubt going to be ending with bargaining in some manner, meaning that the group will be split on something and maybe have to make a deal with the wilderness. because according to the episode 8 teaser, the deck of cards comes into play like we had theorized a couple episodes ago, and this may be the way that we begin to choose who is sacrificed and who isn't. Again, Lottie mentioned the wilderness doesn't make deals like one for you, one for me, but rather they need food. And the girls and Coach Scott at Javi, Travis, they're all food. The most interesting storyline to me was Coach Scott this week. Obviously, his mental state is at an ATL, and his escapist memories of Paul seem to be coming to an end, which means it's a harsh reality of his current situation that he needs to face. As seen by the increased amounts of static in this scene, it's almost like his memories are being overwritten, much like a VHS tape when multiple things have been recorded and re-recorded over it. I think some of the subtext here is that he didn't want the world to know that he was gay, which is why Paul says that he's not ready or welcome here anymore, but also combined with the way that Misty berates him later when he's on the cliff. Obviously, Coach Scott is wanting to end his life. He shaves his face because he wants to look his best if and when rescuers find his body. But also this week's show description, which who wouldn't guessed, oddly hints at his unaliving tendencies. So this is by far the most bizarre reference of this show so far. But episode 7's description says, Coach Scott does a great Carl Havoc impression. And if you didn't know who Carl Havoc is, don't worry, because this is a character from the sketch comedy show I Think You Should Leave with Tim Robinson. Basically, he's supposed to do this undercover, hidden camera bit, but breaks down that he doesn't want to live anymore.
I don't want to be around anymore.
Like you don't want to live anymore?
I don't know.
So yeah, obviously shown at the cliff's edge as well, but Coach Scott willingly doesn't want to be there or alive anymore. And according to the weird hidden frames from like episode 2 or 3, it looks like his days are definitely numbered. Also, it's a bit odd that the framing of the antlers are perfect on his head when he yells for Paul outside of the cabin. So like hint, hint, maybe he's next. Because Misty talks about his delicious rump roast again, and I'm not gonna lie, I never thought we'd be able to use this clip again.
I'd like to put some barbecue sauce on that button. Just
Stop it now!
But I think that there's more to this cliff scene than meets the eye. Just a lot of the camera angles, movements, transitions, they feel off. Like when Misty is searching for Crystal, by the way, where the heck did her body go? We got to figure that one out. But right before she confronts Coach Scott, the slow zoom out almost sounds like a camera shutter and some sort of alarm faintly mixed in with the background music. So maybe someone is in fact watching them like Cabin in the Woods style, but the big question is why? The other thing that stood out to me were the roots of the tree to the left side of the screen. These look oddly similar to the drawing that Javi showed to Coach Scott a couple episodes ago. Maybe we're grasping at straws here, but this specific cliff spot has been like featured multiple times in episodes. The No Eyes Man led Evil Ty here. Ty and Van also found the symbol on the tree. Crystal fell to her death here. Coach Scott wandered out here. The drawing of Javi looks similar to this location, and the weird camera zooms I had mentioned. Something is up. I'm not sure what, but maybe with Crystal's body being gone, she was taken to the same place as Javi, maybe, somewhere underground, and is going to come back at some point like Jesus risen, scaring the bejesus out of everyone, specifically Misty. The name Crystal does come from the Greek word meaning carrier of Christ, and there's been, a whole bunch of Greek and religious symbolism, so if she strolls right back in like Captain Barbossa, I would not be surprised. The massive cliffhanger to end this episode is something that I appreciate, and I am so excited for the next week because Jeff has done his homework speaking in code, so give him all the cookies. But this begs so many questions, like, did Misty completely botch hiding the body? Did she give the remains to someone else to deal with it? Did Walter use clues from his and Misty's interactions and pinpoint a potential burial ground? Honestly, my money is on the last one, with it being revealed that Walter has some sort of, I don't know, maybe personal connection to Adam, a friend, family, a weekend slam piece, I don't know, something. But the closing song of Dream Girl Evil gives us a great understanding of basically every single main character in this season, revolving around the idea that despite how someone might seem on the outside, they could still be deeply flawed in the inside. Obviously, all of the adult Yellowjackets land in this category, but I think this falls on Jeff too. Not in a way of past trauma, but that his flaws are in the fact that he's willing to do anything for Shauna. And potentially, maybe, spoilers, I don't know at this point for episode 8, looks like someone may be unaliving from the looks of the blood splatter in the episode 8 teaser. I've seen some theories suggest that maybe Jeff offs himself, leaving a note explaining his jealousy of the Adam affair, taking the full blame, and allowing Shauna to be in the clear of Adam's death. It finally feels like pieces are falling into place this season, and I have a feeling that these last 2 episodes, I'm sorry to break it to you, it's only 9 episodes rather than 10, but all of these last 2 are gonna be nuts. Alright, getting into theories, I'm saying at this point there are 2 big ones that are about to go down. First is the dual timeline, like parallel universe type stuff. The way the supernatural elements have been kind of implemented, combined with the fact that there are so many allusions to mirrored images, and events that seem to be memories but are not the ones that we've seen in the series as of now. Like Tyson having a split good and bad personality, the paintings at Van's, Natalie seeing the plane all burnt to a crisp with 0 survivors, even though a handful of Yellowjackets did in fact survive to present day, and almost everything involving Coach Scott this season. He dreams of a life of love with Paul, witnessing the plane crashing in a different timeline he's not in, and last week the cabin and his apartment imagery were smashed together into one. Why or how this is happening, of course, I don't know. This hasn't been revealed yet, but the wilderness and the mysterious markings could be the clue as to why this is happening to the select group of Yellowjackets. It's also a bit odd that a lot, and I mean a lot, of scenes and sequences here in Season 2 have referenced movies, TV shows, songs, and other events and so forth. But there isn't a ton of evidence to support the whole cabin in the woods meets Truman Show setup that I kind of, theorized a couple of times. I'm saying it's possible, don't get me wrong, it's a maybe, but there's way too much stretching to get there. Theory 2 is the identity of the Antler Queen. Since, Season 1, it's been theorized by everyone to be Lottie. She's the one that sees visions, is a little bit kooky, and it's been revealed that her entire wellness retreat has been modeled after the wilderness setting, and even has a giant symbol carved into the ground. It's pretty obvious, right? Not really, because it's all been a clever red herring, as the real Antler Queen is actually Shauna. Shauna has always seemed to be the character at the middle of this story, a leader without knowing it. And now that she's lost her baby, the wilderness is going to grasp onto this anger along with her sacrifice of the baby, therefore allowing her to tap into the wilderness's powers. Plus, all of this would explain her completely unhinged behavior in present day, and why when she held up the chop shop dude, she actually was enjoying it, like she wanted to go through with it. It was reminding her of the power, influence, and fear she presented in the wilderness that has been dormant for 25 years. Shauna is the Antler Queen, baby! And I'm betting that the 7th member beneath the robes that started Season 1 is going to be Caligula. I know that she's been teased to be on the chopping block, with her mentioning wanting to see her young nephew again, and even studying for the SATs, but again, all of this has been a complete misdirect. It would also explain why this character was recast from Season 1, bringing someone on board with a little bit more screen time and experience. So I'm saying that the very last episode of Season 2 is going to be a big reveal that an adult Caligula is still alive and well and out there, much like the mic drop reveal of Lottie at the end of Season 1. And if that's the case, we now have all of our hooded ritualists identified, and everyone else in the group, they're going to be food for the group. Also, no doubt the opening ritual pit girl scene is going to actually be taking place during the second winter rather than the current wilderness time of the first winter. So, yeah, there's going to be a lot of waiting for this actual pit girl reveal and sequence. But this is what I'm thinking is going to happen. Anyway, that is episode 7 of season 2. At this point, we are fully fueling up this season and about to drop a Mentos into a vat of Coca-Cola, and I am ready for everything to explode. It feels like something big is about to go down in these last couple episodes. Now, unfortunately, due to scheduling conflicts, we may not be able to get around to covering episode 8. So if that's the case, don't worry, we'll be back for episode 9. Just you wait. But yeah, what did you think of episode 7? Are all of the Yellowjackets back together, meaning some supernatural shenanigans are about to go down? And what other outlandish theories do you have going into these final 2 episodes of season 2? And I'll let you know, we're currently running a competition giving away 3 steelbook copies of Ant-Man Quantumania on the 15th of May, and all you got to do to get a chance of winning this is like this video, subscribe with notifications on, and drop a comment down below with your thoughts of Yellowjackets episode 7. We pick the comments at random at the end of every single month, and the winners of last month are on screen right now. Message us on Twitter at Heavy Spoilers. If you want something else to watch, be sure to check out some of our other great videos over there. Just click one. They're great. Click one. But with all of that out of the way, thank you so much for your constant support. I've been Jared. I'll see you in the next one. Take care and peace.